The last couple of years were never great, especially with the whole pandemic going about. Now that it's 2022, I figure I will talk about games I played in 2020 and 2021. Just a reminder, this list isn't in any order. This isn't my top favorite or top worst. With that, here are the games I played in both 2020 and 2021. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Might as well start with a chill game. I never grew up playing the first Animal Crossing on GameCube. All I do know is that you play as a human interacting with animals. Since picking up the Switch, I figure I'd try out the latest game of the series. I'm glad I did because this game was a nice treat. My favorite element that this game has is that you can visit your friend's island. It's a marvelous gem that needs to be owned by every Switch owner. Doom Eternal. Doom 2016 is one of my favorite shooters I've ever played. It was so much fun doing the finishers on demons. I won't lie, when I first heard about Doom Eternal, I was kinda skeptical. I was thinking that it was gonna be like 2016 reskinned. By golly, I was so wrong. This game is a blast to play. I have never felt so addicted to a shooter quite like this one. The finishers are way more brutal and the replay value is endless. If you love the 2016 game, get Eternal. Dark Pictures Little Hope. I mentioned this so many times that I didn't care for Medan. It was one of the most disappointing games of 2019. I got to give Little Hope a shot after borrowing it from my third older sister. It's slightly better, but I'm still not intrigued. All I loved about Until Dawn still didn't feel present in this entry. At least the characters are a bit better. The attempt at a plot twist was fine. As I said, it's better than Medan, but it's not enough to get House of Ashes. Resident Evil Village. During my cringy days of making videos, I reviewed Resident Evil 7. I mentioned that I had a great time with the game. When Village was announced and rumored they were going to have werewolves, I was hyped. Once I finally played the game, I had a fun time. Besides it being first person, this went through a throwback to the old school Resident Evil games with its well-crafted puzzles and tons of great use of horror. It's a good time overall. Ghost of Tsushima. Talk about how overwhelmingly gorgeous the game is. This is from Sucker Punch, the same team that made Infamous. This is a historical open world game with marvelous combat, tons of places to survey, and lots of customization. If you love Infamous, do not overlook this exquisite experience. The game even has a PS5 version, and they improved the game so much. I have not played that version yet. Now that I have a PS5, I'll give it a whirl eventually. The Last of Us Part 2. The one game I was looking forward to in 2020. I love Part 1, it's one of my favorite games from Naughty Dog. When Part 2 was announced, I was excited. I streamed the game all the way through. I hate to say it, but this is not nearly as good as Part 1. It has emotional moments, but the approach is what kind of bothers me. Instead of a story of loss, it's a story of anger, hate, and revenge. I love the fact that you could play as two characters, Ellie and the new character, Abby. The graphics are wonderful. It's just it doesn't hold a candle to Part 1. And you know what's really sad? There has been spoilers leaked weeks before the game was released. People had to put on followers only and slow mode on Twitch to prevent looking at them. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. As somebody who only played the first Fatal Frame, I was looking forward to attempt the newest game of the series, even though it was originally on Wii U. This game is fun, but it is on the side of holding your hand a little too much. Aside from the hand holding, the gray atmosphere, disturbing storyline, and tons of ghosts to capture makes the game worthy of the playthrough if you haven't tried it out yet. Knockout City. EA doing a dodgeball game? What a concept! It's sort of similar to Splatoon, but with a dodgeball. It's an odd game that I think it's worth playing through if you're tired of these shooters. Although I do see a lot of people being bored with the game after a few matches, regardless of how they play. Pokemon Unite. MOBA games are kind of a hit or miss for me. Smite is my personal favorite with a bunch of deities you can play as. I know very little of Pokemon. It didn't stop me from trying out the MOBA game that's free on Switch. As a Pokemon game, it's not bad. As a MOBA game, it's alright. I would only recommend this game if you're a huge fan of Pokemon and you like MOBAs. Cyberpunk 2077. The Witcher is one of my favorite RPG series of all time. Part 3 is a Western RPG's fan's dream come true. I was one of those individuals that were excited for Project Red's newest game, Cyberpunk 2077. When it was released, it was nothing but a broken, buggy mess. Despite this, I had fun with the game. but as I said, it's very buggy. We all heard that it was removed out of the digital stores on consoles because of it. I don't know if the devs ever did fix the game. I'll have to see when I get around to re-downloading it. Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood. As a huge fan of werewolves, it's no secret that I would attempt at playing this game. In short, it's alright. I love that you could play as the big brute werewolf, and the combat is pretty satisfying while playing as one. That's the biggest highlight of the whole game. Otherwise, it's mostly stealth, which is not a bad thing. What strays away from being amazing is the story, the graphics, and the difficulty curves. I still think that 4 out of 10 from IGN is a little too harsh. Tribal Hunter. This was a recommendation by Hunko the Knobster, the same artist that made the Dumpling art piece. I love indie games. They are way more original in comparison to mainstream games. When trying the game out, it's extremely delightful. It's a platformer RPG where you vor enemies, and the more you do that, the bigger and stronger you become. This was so worth picking up. At the time of making this video, it's on its early access. It may be unusual, but that's the whole idea. If you love indie games, never shy away from this. Call of Duty Warzone. This was mostly for curiosity. Call of Duty is one of the most overrated game series ever made. However, I love Call of Duty 4 because of its story, which is a rarity in the ones after it. I thought I would try out their Battle Royale game, Warzone. It certainly is Call of Duty Battle Royale. The worst thing about this is that there are hackers playing the game, making it not worth your time. I mentioned before that I'm not a fan of the genre. I would much prefer playing 4 again. Also, let's not forget about the allegations regarding Activision Blizzard and Microsoft being willing to make a deal with them. Genshin Impact. I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to free-to-play games. I figured I would try out Genshin Impact, just to see what it is. As most people would say, it's an anime Breath of the Wild with online features. I love Breath of the Wild, and I like animes, so you would think I would love this game because of this combination. Honestly, it's not bad. It does pique some of my interests. I haven't played a whole lot of it, but it's worth checking out. Visage. You all know that I love horror games. This was originally released in 2018 as early access, but it was fully released in 2020. This is an intentionally difficult horror game where it took most of its inspiration from PT. When a game is meant to be difficult on purpose, it makes me feel frustrated. I get that's the point, but it still annoys me. This game is wonderful to look at, but as I said, the difficulty is kind of a hindrance to make this game feel fun. While streaming it, I did come across a glitch that made me fall into the void. If you love this game, that's fine. Sadly, it's not for me. Life is Strange True Colors. Story rich at its finest. Life is Strange is one of my favorite adventure games of all time. It gets better the more you progress through the games. Life is Strange True Colors is no different. The concept of having the power of empathy is extraordinary. The emotions are so good in this one. The best part about this is that you can play the episodes without waiting for them to come out every few months. If you love the other Life is Strange games, never shy away from True Colors. Mario Party Superstars. I never grew up with Mario Party. I was kind of unsure if I should get the game considering that it has all the mini-games from the ones before Super Mario Party. I'm glad I got the game because this game is a blast. Yes, people get salty over other players, but I guess that's part of their nostalgia. I had a good fun time just playing the mini-games. I highly recommend this to every Switch owner. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Technically, this game came out in 2011 for the Wii, but I wanted to include it anyway. I was one of those gamers that thought the game was fun despite the motion controls being a little wonky. How's the Switch port compared to the Wii? It's way smoother. The best thing about the Switch version is that you don't have to play it with the motion controls. You can play it with the Pro Controller. It's my recommendation if you love the Zelda games. Valheim. Probably my favorite survival game. It may look like your normal survival game, but it's way more satisfying. The crafting feels fluent and the game as a whole feels rewarding. Even though it's still in its early access, it's worth every penny. You can even have mods to make it more fun to play. Golf with your friends. It seems like only yesterday I was playing this game on early access. This is a golf game, yes, but it's not something to take seriously. In a way, that's fine. This is a great golf game that is not meant to be played solo. My favorite thing about this title is the different variations of how you play the game. I highly recommend this for people who love playing with friends. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Yet another game that came out originally on a different console. I very much remember playing Super Mario 3D World on one cousin's Wii U. It was fun playing the multiplayer. The Switch port includes Bowser's Fury. That game is decent. If you don't own a Wii U and you like Mario, Super Mario 3D World is not something to pass up. The HD looks great and the additional content after completing the main game makes it worthwhile. Halo Infinite Multiplayer. Halo 3 will always be one of my favorite games of the series. But of course, I had so much fun playing the multiplayer on the Master Chief Collection. When Halo Infinite released a free multiplayer mode, I couldn't say no. Dare I say, this was a satisfying treat. However, there are some problems like the battle pass and the progression system. Besides that, from what I've played of the multiplayer, it's a worthwhile game. I have yet to try out the campaign. Those are the games I've played in both 2020 and 2021. Thank you so much for watching. Let's hope for the best for 2022.